A broken world, broken by no means of your own. Yet you are faced with a decision to fix or to be the problem. A society's philosophies lead it to a logical conclusion, whether good or bad. But things are starting to look more bad than good. But at least we are free to engage in what feels good, so long as it only harms ourselves. A flaw in human thinking is assuming that the path and definition of progress will remain linear, that good can never pave the way for bad. We see progress for an extended period of time, and we keep moving along with the same beliefs. Think of some past era, maybe the 1950s or 1980s. Life seemed better, things were affordable, social and personal lives were filled with meaning and a sense of purpose. As with people in all empires living during its golden era, these people didn't assume that the path of their society would take a tragic turn. How could they know the beliefs that brought them to such heights of abundance and freedom would seek to ruin society? But that's just it. Nothing stops at some arbitrary point of prosperity. It keeps moving along, with each generation being accustomed to the social progress of the previous. They seek to progress further based off the same beliefs. They are called rebellious until they become out of touch, old people, unaware of the current trends. A cycle. Over time, the definition of progress changes. All the while, we witness the destruction of marriage, the family unit being a thing of the past, and the destruction of a dignified standard of life with a traditional job. But at least you are free to act in the pursuit of pleasure. It makes sense until it doesn't. Plato and Aristotle believed that societies came and went in cycles, that destruction was inevitable. It starts with progress, from individuals to tribes to states, based on a unifying constitution. The state eventually undermines its founding constitution. Then came the Enlightenment, believing that scientific and technological progress should not be hindered. People should be free to think, and intellectual progress drives a society forward. Freedom to act, maybe, just maybe, it's better to have freedom from than freedom to. Human beings like to paint an image in their head of some arbitrary point of happiness at which societal progress will remain. When they live in the good, they assume that the good will always stay good. You often hear people talking about the past decades and wishing to roll back the hands of time. It is possible, but not with the beliefs we currently hold. Very few people are willing to sacrifice, let alone change, so they just blame the policymakers, which might just be a reflection of their own character. Ask yourself this question: how many people are willing to not steal $1 million if there were no consequences to themselves? Yet they get mad at corporations for doing the same thing more effectively. Societal morals have changed, virtues change, but the change is defined by a system of beliefs. A system of beliefs are a set of foundational units that lead people to their conclusions, their interpretations of progress, and definitions of right and wrong. This sets the course for moral change and societal change with technological advancement. Now let's examine what kind of progress have our beliefs led to. Marriage rates going from 85% to 33% in 40 years. You can choose to see marriage as good or bad, but evidence points to a family household as being conducive to producing productive and healthy individuals. If your metric for progress is creature comforts and technological progress, then continue to ignore the rise in mental health problems all around you. Depression, anxiety, and suicide rates, to name a few. Sure, we may not be engaging in wars and barbaric traditions anymore, but it doesn't mean that our problems aren't just as bad or worse. Maybe we just replaced environmental problems with psychological and social problems. Maybe psychological and social problems are far more destructive than environmental problems. At least with a horde of attacking barbarians, people are aware, unlike what we have today, like a cancer, a slow death that goes unnoticed. Now the point of this video: bad philosophies or beliefs have a unique property. They end at zero, meaning they are literally fighting for nothing. Take equality of outcome. What is its logical conclusion? Maybe the following trajectory: make all people equal in earnings, make them equal in appearance, make them equal in all traits. Eventually, they are only distinguishable by their distance relative to some point in space. Why not put them all at the same point, concluding at literally a point? Racism falls into the same category. People subdividing based on race, then dividing based off genetic differences within that race. Continual division until you you are left with nothing more to divide. Tribalism of old, where tribes within a nation fight each other over differences until they grow a large enough divide and fight each other once more. The issue is that we call people extreme for coming to these conclusions, for thinking our civilized and sophisticated mechanisms of policy could ever reach such an end. We have an idealized image of an endpoint to our philosophies, but that endpoint might just be the plateau of joy after which the decay begins. Look around you. Do you think the people of the 1950s would imagine their descendants engaging in the degeneracy we see today? Maybe our descendants are likely to engage in inconceivable degeneracies of their own, perhaps a matrix-like simulation where people can engage in all manner of degeneracy and pleasure. How many people would escape their lives if such a thing was invented? We call these ideas crazy until they become the new normal. The invention of AI girlfriends and virtual reality girlfriends speaks volumes. People simply opting out of the hardship of traditional relationships for maximizing pleasure. Why bother with a normal relationship if it requires more work? How can a regular person compete with a program that doesn't experience the stresses of a regular life, one that is optimized for producing a desired reaction, perfectly selfless? It seems as though the goal of our modern philosophy is to reduce yourself to a point, the point being the origin of your consciousness to maximize pleasure. Why move around when the artificial world produces a better reaction? Why not just lie there at the same point in reality and experience the joys of an artificial world? Everything will make sense with the following statement: fear a man with pride, for he makes no mistakes. In reality, he only makes mistakes, but he is too blinded by arrogance to see the fire around him. The song of the 21st century, where pride and arrogance are abundant. They are our new virtues. Our influencers being an embodiment of this on social media, so let them preach the prayer of arrogance while we make sacrifices at the altar of degeneracy, praising ourselves for our civilized systems of governance and policy making as the fallen empires of old did. Remember this: what is advanced and simple is only relative to a point in time.